Spoiler alert. The following will contain spoilers for The Mandalorian. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man, and oh man, we just got chapter 14 of The Mandalorian. Wow. Oh, listen, this show is continuing to just drop fantastic episodes back to back to back. I am absolutely in love with this episode. Matter of fact, I had to watch it a couple different times just because it was that cool. I mean, we learned some really interesting information that pretty much filled in some backstory for Star Wars lore. And even though this was a shorter episode, we got a lot of action in a really good amount of time too. Now, before we get started, let me just address something. I know in my last video, I screwed up Baby Yoda, aka Grogu's name, a lot. So yes, I seen the comments. I already knew I messed it up. I told y'all it was going to take me a little while to get used to it. And I've sat in the mirror and I'm like, it's Grogu. I got it. I'm good. I got it. But you know what? I'm still going to call him Baby Yoda on occasion, because if we can sit here and call Din Djarin Mando, I'm pretty sure we could be all right with Grogu having the nickname of Baby Yoda. I mean, I'm still seeing people online getting all worked up over that, and I'm just like, it's not really worth all that stress over a fictional character, and it kind of takes the fun out of, this really cool franchise when people try to over-police this stuff. Anyway, let's go over this episode because there's a lot to talk about. Mando and Grogu are on their way to Tython to place Grogu on the Seeing Stone so that he may be able to contact another Jedi. Mando has a little fun with Grogu by calling out his name, but he also continued to train him in using the Force to grab the joystick ball. Mando tells Grogu that he's got to bring him to the planet so that a Jedi can train him. He thinks that Grogu is far too powerful, and he repeats his mission to take him back to his own kind. Now, the one thing I really love about this sequence in this opening scene is that Mando pretty much did the exact same thing that I would have done. I mean, I don't know how many of you are parents out there, but I know when my kids were babies, that moment where they're old enough not only to hear sound but recognize their name, and they look up at you every time you call their name, that's just such a precious moment. So that kind of triggered for me when I saw Mando doing that, and he was just like, Grogu. And you see Grogu just huh? I just thought that was so funny and cute. Now, anyway, besides all of that, we do see Mando here, kind of laying it on thick in terms of which I think is kind of a pretty obvious emotional setup, right? He's, we're getting a little bit closer to the end of the season, and, not only is he telling this to Grogu, but he's also telling that to us, right? This whole, I've got to take you back to your people, and, they're just trying to build up this tension, I guess, because eventually there will come a point where maybe they're going to separate, but personally, I think we can all agree here, I don't think Disney has the guts to sit here and pull these two apart for a long period of time and break them up, right? This is the Grogu and Mando show. So I think this is really just a way to, again, build up that emotional tension. They arrive on Tython and land the Razor Crest near the Seeing Stone. Mando grabs Baby Yoda and jetpacks his way to the top of the temple. Mando was unable to figure out how to activate the stone, but Grogu made a connection and tuned in to the Force. Just then, the Slave One starship is seen landing, and Mando tries to get Grogu out of there. However, a force field is now surrounding the stone and preventing Mando from getting to Grogu. Mando goes down to meet the figure that left the ship and comes face to face with the legendary Boba Fett. He tells Mando that he's here for his armor that Mando received from Cobb Vanth. Mando asked Boba if he was a Mandalorian, and Boba replied by saying that he's just a simple man making his way through the galaxy just like his pops before him. Boba also said that he has no allegiance to anyone. Mando doesn't really want to give up the armor to a non-Mandalorian. The two are in a standoff when Boba Fett reveals that he has a sniper with their target being locked on to Grogu. Turns out the sniper is actually Fennec Shand. She says that it was Boba Fett who saved her life, and she is now in his debt. First of all, let me just say that I absolutely love the fact that Mando didn't just go off on some random side mission after meeting Ahsoka. the moment Ahsoka was like, yo, go over there, he was like, okay, that's where we going. It's not, let me go to this other planet, let me stop for repairs, let me go do a side mission and help the townspeople. No. We going here and we going there. So I love the fact that they just went straight there. And, this is the kind of meat and potatoes that I love in storytelling. Now, Ahsoka did say that, by putting Grogu on the Seeing Stone, he's going to be able to make a choice, right? So, he could either turn away from the Force or, he can kind of contact out to another Jedi or something else can happen, right? And it looked like Grogu was deep in thought to me. Like, he was deep up in that Force, and for a while. So, I mean, surely somebody had to hear his call, right? And of course, in case you missed it, I made a video last week sharing my top 5 picks on who I think might hear his call and potentially come out to train him. Anyway, we need to talk about Boba Fett. I mean, now it's official that this was actually Boba Fett. I know some people were thinking that, because Jango Fett was actually the prototype for a number of clones, maybe the figure we saw was Rex or some other stormtrooper from, the Clone Wars or something. But no, it is confirmed that this is actually Boba Fett from Return of the Jedi, who, we saw get eaten up in the Sarlacc, and apparently he survived. And he was the one that we also saw in season 1, who, again, came out and saved Fennec. But no, this is actually the legendary Boba Fett, the bounty hunter that we saw in Return of the Jedi, get eaten by the Sarlacc and all that. And we also have confirmation that it was actually Boba that was the mysterious figure at the end of, I think it was like episode 5 or something like that, of the first season that saved Fennec. So I'm glad that a lot of these things are being confirmed now, and we don't have to keep speculating about it. After everyone gets acquainted, they come to an agreement. Mando will give Boba back his armor, and in exchange, Boba will guarantee the safety of the child as well as Mando's safety too. Given the increased bounty placed on the head of the child, Mando accepts their deal. Just then, another starship lands nearby. A number of stormtroopers come out. Mando runs to Grogu so that they can escape, but the force field keeps him at bay. Boba Fett pulls out his stick and starts cracking skulls and poking people really hard. Hey, I knew Boba Fett was no joke and all, but this guy was a whole beast. I mean, he was really beating the crap out of these stormtroopers. I mean, look, it was getting so bad, I started to actually feel bad for the stormtroopers. I'm like, yo, come on, Boba Fett, you gotta chill, man. Why you gotta be so mean? As you were. The battle heats up, and as Mando is unable to penetrate the force field, he joins the fight alongside Fennec. Right as the odds were mounting against him, Boba Fett turns it up a notch and starts pimp-smacking stormtroopers as he dons his original armor once again. Boba sends off a missile and destroys both of their starships at the same time. Shortly after, a laser blast comes from the sky and destroys the Razor Crest. Mando sees the light cruiser in the sky and immediately knows that the Imperials are here for Grogu. Look, the action in this scene was phenomenal. It was great. And we should expect no less because this was directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it definitely shows. And I have to say that, I really loved in The Mandalorian how every episode is directed by a different director. And even though we're, essentially telling the same story, you get different perspectives and it keeps the show fresh. But I gotta say, I got pretty excited when I saw Boba Fett in his original armor again. I thought that was a really dope treat for Star Wars fans of the original trilogy. But, of course, in true fashion, the moment they give you something good, they gotta take something away from you. We done lost the Razor Crest. Man, after all it's been through, I was really starting to like the ship. I was getting kind of comfortable with it. It kind of reminded me of your very first car. And look, it might be crappy. It might drive on only 3.5 wheels and the back window's busted out. But guess what? It's yours. I also really love this encounter between Mando and Boba Fett, and not just for the sake of nostalgia, but also because it's just yet another challenge for Mando. I mean, once again, Mando is confronted with like another way of being a Mandalorian in a sense, seeing a different type of Mandalorian, which, for him, because being a Mandalorian is like a religion, it is challenging his worldview. By encountering Boba Fett, by encountering Bo-Katan. So, I love the fact that like this hopefully will continue to push Mando to like grow, and maybe develop into a different type of Mandalorian. Maybe he even renounces it. I don't know, but it's definitely intriguing when you have like the main characters, have their code or their philosophies challenged, and then we get to experience whether they grow from it or not. Aboard the Imperial cruiser, Moff Gideon gives the command to release the Dark Troopers. They grab the now exhausted Grogu and head back to the ship. Boba Fett follows and says that the Empire is back. Mando examines the wreckage of his ship and is able to retrieve the joystick ball that Grogu liked to play with and the Beskar spear. Boba Fett reveals his chain code to Mando to prove the armor was his and belonged to his father, Jango Fett. Mando sees in the chain code that through the family lineage, Jango Fett was actually a foundling. Boba Fett confirms this, and that Jango Fett even fought in the Great Mandalorian Civil War. Mando says that Boba Fett can keep the armor and that their deal is complete. But Boba counters that by saying that the deal isn't complete until the child is safe. So both he and Shand will help Mando get the kid back. Man. So now we know why this episode was called The Tragedy. They done took Baby Yoda and with the Dark Troopers at that. Now I know in Star Wars lore there's been like different variations of Dark Troopers. And I can't recall which ones are actually canon or not. I mean, obviously now these are canonized. Now, if somebody can help me out, I could have sworn that there were Dark Troopers that also had like the dark side of the Force like imbued in them. And I was kind of thinking this was one of the reasons why Moff Gideon wanted Grogu to like use his Force abilities, the midichlorians in his body, his blood, to maybe fuel the Dark Troopers so that way they could be a formidable force, I guess, against Jedi and basically everybody that opposes them. But going back to Boba Fett, we just learned that Jango Fett was actually a foundling. And that's just like Mando. Now, that doesn't mean that Jango Fett was a child of the Watch like Mando, but it just means that he was adopted into the Mandalorian society, culture, and probably raised in that way. And more than likely, he also earned his armor by fighting in the Civil War on the planet Mandalore. Now, if you've seen Star Wars Attack of the Clones, the movie, you'd recall that Jango Fett created Boba Fett as a natural clone and not through conventional means. Now, I think one reason why this is kind of important is because it explains a little bit more with Jango's motivation. He didn't just want to make Boba Fett just for the sake of vanity, but rather to help continue his clan's existence. In the animated Clone Wars series, there was a scene where it was declared that Jango Fett was not actually a Mandalorian and that his armor was stolen. Well, apparently, it seems like the Mandalorian show is retconning that, and in a sense, it's making both Jango and Boba honorary Mandalorians. So if you're new to Star Wars, this might not be the biggest deal for you, but I do think it's one of those things that, Star Wars fans can appreciate because it's just, filling in the necessary backstory for these important characters. After Grogu's kidnapping, Mando goes back to Navarro and seeks out the aid of Cara Dune. He needed her to go through the prison registry and look up Miggs Mayfield. She tells Mando his location and asks him why he needs him. Mando replied that he needs Miggs to help locate Moff Gideon's Imperial ship. Dune is feeling a bit conflicted in helping Mando any further until Mando tells her that Gideon has the kid. Dune didn't need to hear another word. We jump to the Imperial ship as Moff Gideon opens up the cell where he finds Grogu flipping stormtroopers like a couple of pancakes. Grogu even got to the point where he started force choking them until he finally stops from exhaustion. Gideon shows off the Darksaber to Grogu and taunts him by saying that he's not ready for the weapon. The stormtroopers set their gun to stun and make Grogu go night-night. Gideon commands his officer to send a message to Dr. Pershing to inform him that they have their donor. Before they leave, they put some kitty-sized shackles on Grogu's tiny little wrists. Well, looks like Mando's about to do, some type of recruitment and maybe go back and find all the friends, that he's met on this journey. Basically everybody that's probably babysat or fallen in love with Baby Yoda or whatever. But I am kind of curious how this re-encounter with Miggs is going to go, because if you recall, Mando did, basically he set him up and put him in prison in the first place. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how Mando's going to convince Miggs to trust him and help him. And I don't know, maybe there's going to be a double cross or something in there. I don't know. That's going to be a very interesting encounter to see. But I do expect that whatever this rescue mission is going to be to get Baby Yoda, it's got to be a really good and exciting one. And I am fully expecting that whenever we get closer to like the end of the series, another Jedi definitely has to show up. I guess it would make sense if Ahsoka were to show up. I think that would be kind of boring though, just because, we already saw her. I think it would be more exciting if we got a different Jedi, maybe Luke Skywalker, or maybe it'll be one of the top 5 people that I put on my list. And yes, I am going to shamelessly plug myself, because if I don't do it, who will? But let's go back to Baby Yoda. Now, I told y'all this a long time ago. This little creature's been playing with the dark side for a minute now. This makes the second time he has force choked somebody out of fear and anger. Now, I do kind of share the same theory that many of you have also communicated. There's potential that Grogu might not, go down the path of a Jedi and instead just become a Mandalorian, just like Mando. I mean, I think it would be amazing to have, like a Yoda looking like character acting like a Mandalorian with all those weapons, and you got the Force on your side too. And imagine if he had the Darksaber too, which would also mean that he would really become the Mandalorian. And if you have the Darksaber, it's symbolic of being like basically the ruler of the Mandalorians. All I know is Moff Gideon must be stopped. And I am looking forward to whatever this next episode has in store for us. So you tell me, what did you think about this episode, and what were some of your favorite parts? I know one thing, I'm probably going to go get some liquor and pour it out for some of those stormtroopers. I mean, the ones that got demolished by Boba, they ain't have to go out like that. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. As always, I definitely appreciate it. If you're new here and you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. In the meantime, I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.